Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to episode 5 of Chess Mistakes of an A Player. In this video I was going to get right to the mistakes. I think next time in episode 6 I'll do a update on the statistics and talk about some of the patterns I have noticed. But let's just talk about the mistakes in this one. So this position on the board, I have the black pieces. This arose from Evans' Gambit. You might be able to recognize some of the characteristic patterns, including the aggressive position of white's pieces over here, the attack on f7 with the queen and bishop battery, and the disrupted center where white has sacrificed a pawn. Actually, he's down 2 pawns at this point, but he's going to get one of them back in the usual line of play. Now, this is not a theoretical position. Both of us have played some moves that were not in the opening book, at least not that I was aware of. So I'm on my own here and thinking, supposedly thinking. So it's my turn to move, and I played knight a5, which is a typical move in this kind of position. What you want to do is disrupt the harmony of white's pieces and maybe trade off one of the attacking pieces. So knight to a4, attacking the queen and the bishop, and white played queen to b4. And so at this point, before playing my next move, I should really go through that process I talked about earlier of trying to assess the tactical threats in the position. So here, you can do that for me. What is a threat that white has in this position that I should be worried about? Okay, let's proceed. I didn't do that phase, or I did it incorrectly. I think actually I tried to look for threats. I just missed the one threat that was important. So I didn't see the threat, and I just took the bishop, which was the idea of knight a4, was to chase the queen away and trade off an attacking piece. So now here's your last chance to guess the tactic here. It's white's turn to move. What's a good move for white? Okay, I hope you saw this one. Pause the video if you didn't get it yet. But yes, my opponent played queen to f8, checkmate. So I guess this is a bit of an unusual checkmate. The queen is covering all of these squares, and my escape route is blocked by the knight. Also, because the back rank is usually protected by a rook, you don't usually see a queen showing up on f8. Well, it was there. It was in the position, and I had to be aware of it. I think when I did my tactical calculations earlier, I was mostly looking at the square e7. So I was noticing, the knight protects e7, so there's no queen e7 mate, even if the queen gets chased away, because sometimes the queen can get chased away from the defense of that square, maybe within pawn push or something. Anyway, there was no problem there on e7, but the problem was on f8, and I totally missed that. So a cute little warm-up tactic for you guys. Here, let's take a look at the second position I picked out. This was a more strategic kind of situation. Let's see, on move 16 here, we can back up a couple of moves. My opponent played d4. I took with the c pawn, and he took back. And now it's my turn to move. And just to give you a general assessment of the position, black is actually doing pretty well here with the right follow-up. The material is even, but black has the bishop pair, and black has more active pieces. And so that's a bit of a clue. Now this next move I made was a mistake, mostly a strategic mistake. So if you want to put on your strategic or positional sense, what's a really good move for black in this position? Okay, I didn't play the good move. Let me show you first what I played. I played bishop e4. This is a move that's a mistake kind of on 2 levels. One is, I wasn't playing the most positionally correct or strategically correct move. But secondly, it was based on a misunderstanding. I thought I would harass his rook here and force his rook to g1. But of course, he can just castle here. And that's perfectly good. In fact, this position is... well, black is still slightly better because black has the bishop pair, but white has really solved all of his problems. He's castled, his pieces are ready to get into the game, and actually it's going to take me 2 moves to castle. So my lead in development that I had just a move before pretty much disappears because I'm just moving an already developed piece and provoking my opponent into castling, which is a developing move. It gets the king to safety and gets a rook closer to the action. So so it gives away my advantage on 2 counts. So if you want to pause the video here, what is the correct move for black in this position? Okay, the move I should have played, and I think a strong player would spot a move like this right away, or a positionally inclined player would spot it, is rook to c2. And I miss these moves because there's no immediate tactical point to rook c2. It's not like there's some great sequence of moves here that wins material. The material stays level. What this does, though, is it ties white's pieces up. The rook is putting pressure on the knight, and it's putting pressure on the pawn. So the bishop can't move, and the king can't castle. Either one of those moves would lose material. So what this rook move does is it really restricts white's motion. Here, let's turn on the engine for a bit here and just give a plausible continuation from this point. I mean, there is no real sequence from here that where black will win material. But let's see. The chess engine is giving bishop to d2 actually is the best move here, which gives up a pawn. So that does win material. But if, say, white doesn't want to play that way, he wants to hold on to his material, you can play king to d2, maybe putting a little pressure on the on the rook, and just f6, holding on to the center. So if he takes here, I will maintain a pawn in the center. And then d takes, f takes. This is reasonable continuation, and then maybe g4 to try and open things up. But he's forfeited his castling rights. My rook is still securely protected here. After g4, my bishop can go forward to d3, even putting some more pressure on the knight. So it's interesting. It appears that white is so tied up that even in that sequence he eventually loses some material. The other move you would think about here immediately is just taking. And then there's bishop to b4 check. Yeah, this is a tactical sequence, so this is kind of nice. Bishop b4 check. And now the king has to worry about where it's going. If it goes this way, then bishop here check, chases the king away from the knight, and I actually win material. So the king has to go this way, and then just castling, and I'm bringing more pieces into the attack, and it looks like I am going to pick up some material here. So that move rook c2 is really very dangerous in this position, and it's just because it ties your opponent down and takes away some of his good moves. And that's what I often don't think about moves like that. I think about moves that attack pieces rather than just put a clamp on the position. So if you spotted rook c2, that's a good on you. Okay, next one. This one I thought was interesting. This is a tactical mistake that occurred in the opening. Let's turn this around. I had the white pieces. And why don't I go ahead and play the whole opening, because this is only happening on move 7. I was playing a strong opponent here, and I was trying out a new opening. So maybe not the best combination, but I sometimes do that. If I want to learn how to play an opening, I will just play the line. So normally I play knight to c3 here. That's the Nimzo Indian, allowing the Nimzo Indian. That's the line I'm most familiar with. But what I wanted to try out was this knight f3 line. That lots of top players play knight f3 and avoid the Nimzo Indian. And after b6, we get into a queen's Indian. So I played bishop g5. I think this is okay. h6, kicking the bishop. These may not be the most correct moves, but they're not losing at least. Bishop to h4, bishop to b7. e3, just setting up a solid pawn structure here. Bishop b4 check. And so this is a position I actually make a blunder on this move. So you might want to think about this a little bit. What would you play as white? There's lots of different moves. Actually, there's not a lot of different moves here. There's because I'm in check, so that limits the number of moves. So What is the best way to play this for white? What's a good move for white here? Amongst that, only, I don't know, there's probably only 2 or 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 legal moves, not counting giving away the queen. So amongst those 4 moves, what's the best one? Let me tell you what the 4 moves are that I see in this position. There's knight here, there's this knight back here, or there's moving the king away from the check. Those are, I think, the only 4 legal moves other than giving up the queen on d2, which I assume you don't want to do. So amongst those 4 moves, what do you think is the best move? Okay, well, I'm going to, well, I'll tell you the best move. The best move is knight to c3. And that's not the move I played. But this is an okay position for white. I don't know, black has a little bit of initiative here. I think black is doing fine, so I probably made some small mistakes earlier in the opening. Black has a lot of pressure and active bishop, so you know, black looks like he's doing okay in this position, but nothing really horrible is happening here. The move that I played is knight b to d2. A very natural blocking move, and I thought, you know, I want to help defend this knight, so if it gets taken, I guess I would still have to take back with a queen because it's pinned. But anyway, I thought this was a pretty solid structure here, and I didn't see the tactic that was coming. So now that I've told you this is a mistake, can you see the tactical sequence that black has to win material? This one's not so easy, so if you want to pause the video and think about it for a while, you know, think about exploiting the pin. Okay, I am going to give the answer away now. My opponent started out with the move g5. He spotted this right away. Like I said, he's a strong player. And this may be a well-known opening trick. I don't know, since I'm not that familiar with the opening. Okay, but g4 kicks the bishop. So I wasn't worried at that point. I just dropped the bishop back to g3. And now he pushes on to g4. And I was really completely mystified at this point because, you know, this is obviously a weakening move. And what's the point? I just played knight e4, attacking that pawn, and now the punchline comes. Knight to, I played knight e5. My opponent plays knight e4. And there's no way to save the pinned knight. This knight is under attack from 2 pieces, and it's only defended by the queen and the king, so I'm losing material here. The knight can't get back to any of these 2 squares that would defend it. This bishop can't get back to any square that would defend it. So there's no piece available that can defend that knight, and the knight can't move because it's pinned. So this is, you know, an opening disaster. And, you know, it's notable because it's rare. Of all the mistakes I've looked at, there's really only, so far, I've looked at, let's see, 5 weeks, you know, maybe 50 or 60 mistakes. Yeah, I'm getting more than 10 mistakes a week. So, so of these, only a handful have been opening mistakes, and this is the most significant one. And it shows how these can arise. I mean, I think this early in the opening, you're probably not aware of a lot of tactics like this. So maybe knight bd2 isn't the most natural move. Maybe knight c3 is the more natural move in any case. But I thought that would be an awkward pin with this with my bishop over here. I wouldn't be able to play bishop to d2. So that was what I was thinking when I played knight bd2, and it just runs into the sequence. It's only 3 moves deep. It's 2 pawn pushes to dislocate these 2 pieces, and then knight to e4 to take advantage of the pin. But it is kind of subtle in that you have to recognize that if you look ahead those 3 moves, that there's just no way to defend that knight. So this might be a, you know, a well-known opening trap, but certainly, yeah, anytime, you know, if I knew the opening, you know, I would know that on move 7 you're supposed to play knight to c3 in this position, which in the opening database, actually in this position, there were still quite a few moves in the database. So we haven't wandered too far away from theory at this point. It's only this next move that's the bad move. Okay, that's enough for my opening mistake. I had one more game I wanted to look at, and there were 2 positions in this game. Now, these are both tactical in nature. So let's see. I had the white pieces again. Let's go to move 18 here. It's my turn to move. And let's see. My opponent just played knight to g4, with the obvious threat of checkmate. So I did notice this one. My tactical sensors were awake for this one. And there's sort of two main ways to defend against the checkmate, at least two that I saw. And so you might want to think about how you would defend against this checkmate threat. Okay, I'm giving the answer away. If you selected the move g3, congratulations, that's the best move here. And after g3, this is a position where white is a little bit awkwardly placed. Yeah, I've somehow gotten my pieces tangled up over here on the queen side, but basically it's about even. The material is even, and after g3, I'll have enough time to untangle my pieces and get them into the game. This knight can hop, for example, to e1 and g2, and then the bishop can come out, and maybe have some pressure on this backwards pawn. So it's not all roses for black, although obviously black has got a much more active position here, so black is somewhat better, but with correct defense I should be okay. But I didn't like the idea of this g3 move, because it does weaken the light squares. So I was looking for alternative ways of dealing with the mate, and I played the move f4. And so you might want to think about why this is a horrible mistake, this move f4. Okay, I'm going to, you can pause the video if you want some time to think about it. But, okay, I will go ahead and show you how the game went at this point. He took the pawn, I took back, and he took with the queen, and I played queen d5 check. And here's what I was thinking when I calculated this sequence. Now, he does have a lot of threats here. He has queen here check, king to the corner, and queen there mate, because my rook is blocked by the bishop there, so I'm not protected on the back rank. So I was aware that I was in trouble here, and what my idea was that if his king runs to the corner, then I have a mate. He has a weak back rank too. So his king moves to, if his king moves to f8, then I have this move queen to f3. And that pins the queen against the king. And so that sort of neutralizes the threat. And in fact, that's what happened in the game. After queen takes d5 check, he played here, and I played here, and the game continued from this point. But he had another move here that is just winning for black. So this tactical save to my position wasn't working at all. So can you find the move here that black should have played? Okay, if he retreats his queen to block the check, then I'll just trade queens and I'm okay as well. So that's not the idea. There is one other piece that can block the check, however, and I didn't think of this, but it's a piece sacrifice. Obviously, he's giving up his bishop, but it eliminates any threats that I have along the back rank. And even though I take the bishop with check, he just moves his king aside. Here, let's turn on the engine for a bit just to make sure I get this sequence correctly. I think he just goes to h8. Yeah, he can just go to h8. His king is safe there. And now I have no way to meet all of these threats that he has against my back rank. Look at that. The chess engine is suggesting the only way to avoid mate is to take the knight. So queen takes g4 obviously loses. But the problem is it takes me 2 moves to clear the back rank. So if I could magically get rid of this bishop and this knight, then I would be safe, but I can only move them one at a time. So move like here. Knight comes out. It's just a mate 2. Queen here check, and queen here mate. So I'm in big trouble here. Oh, and there's even queen here leads to checkmate as well, because the knight is guarding the escape squares. And yeah, so the only way to avoid mate in this position is queen takes g4. The toughest defense is, other than queen takes knight, is to play queen back to e1. Let's see how this would go. And then queen here check, king to f1, queen f4 check. Okay, so there's a little bit of a longer sequence. Rook here, but actually instead of going for the mate, he could also bring his rook over, check me, and then as the king walks in front of the king, he could check here and pick up the queen that way and win his material. So that's a simple material way to win, but there's also a forced mate from this sequence as well. So pretty interesting tactic right here. Luckily for me, I guess that move bishop e6 is a little bit hard to see because it is it's just hanging there. Nobody is defending that bishop, but it meets the bill. It displaces my queen and leaves me with no way to defend against all of these mating threats. Anyway, so my opponent actually played king f8, and the game went on a couple more moves. So I continued here, and let's go forward to the next interesting position. Yeah, it was on move 24. I guess we can just step forward through the game. He took. I took back. He went knight to e5, attacking my pawn. I went knight to d4, just defending the pawn, developing naturally. He went b5, holding on to his queenside pawns. And now I make a mistake here. Let's see. There is a good move in this position. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what the move is because it's an interesting calculation exercise. I was looking at this bishop takes h7 move, and here, let's turn the engine off. I was wondering whether that was safe. So here's a question for you. Is it safe for me to play bishop takes h7? This is your last tactical quiz, so pause the video and think about it and come up with a yes or no answer. Okay, I'm going to give the answer away. Let's see, I played a4 here, so I decided it was not safe and played a4, but I was wrong. You can take that pawn. And what I was worried about, and what you should consider before deciding that move is safe, is whether he can trap the bishop this way. He just plays his pawn to g6. The bishop has no squares that it can go to. The threat is king here and just gathering up that bishop. I can't bring the knight in to keep the king out of those squares because his bishop is protecting that. But what I can do, and the point that I missed in my calculation, is I can chase his knight away. So I can just play this move. He can come in here and go after my pawns, but then I just take his pawn, and I'm out of trouble here. So I've won a pawn, and actually this is close enough to the endgame with an outside pass pawn. This is probably a winning position. So this was a game that went from losing to even, and from even to winning. His move b5 was the mistake that allowed this bishop takes h7, except that I didn't play it. So anyway, I thought that was a very interesting idea. There are times when you can take that pawn. You just got to make sure that your bishop can escape. Okay, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.